Hey there, everybody, and happy Thursday. This is Jessie with A Mom on a Mission, and every week I come on and give you tips, tricks, and sometimes interviews from amazing moms that like to give you real answers to real questions that you have as a mother. And tonight we had scheduled Deb for AstirFreya, which is an amazing organization. We're still are an amazing business that started out that helps provide care packages to miscarriage moms. Hello, Tiffany. Yeah, if you jump on live, go ahead and do hashtag live in the comments. If you catch the replay, go ahead and do hashtag replay. It's always fun to see who's here and who's showing up to these and you know how you hear about them. So yeah, do that. Like I said, Deb is not going to be able to make it, but we're just going to move forward and do. I'm going to take the opportunity to kind of reintroduce myself a little bit and kind of go a little deeper into my story because I know some people know about why I'm so passionate about helping moms so much, and some of you don't because I know I have some new people on, and you know this goes to some new groups. So I just like to reintroduce that, take this opportunity, and I think it's a good opportunity to kind of pre-talk before we talk to Deb next week, which I'm very excited about. But first, we're going to start out every Thursday like we do, and that is to share your positives. So one of the things I absolutely love is, you know, in my group, it's hashtag Thankful Thursday, and I think it's really important to remember gratitude and to remember to be thankful for things that you have in your life. And one of the reasons why is because when it is tough, when things are going rough or you know you're just anxious or you're upset, it can be really easy to lose focus of the good things that you have in your life. And I love to tell people, like, I'm another day above ground. I'm here with my kids, you know, and I am just lucky for all of that. You know, I'm lucky I have a house over my head, belly full of food, and just amazing children and family that love me. So I couldn't imagine for anything more. If you guys have something, please share it in the comments. Hello, Lacey. Oh, that's all right, honey. Thank you. Oh, watching a she says she can't catch it right now. She's watching a toddler. I understand that life. Okay. My little one is going to be 3 on Sunday. It's going to be 3 on Sunday. So he's my youngest. And we're really excited about that. Kid loves cars and everything. And I'm already setting up for him to see a motorcycle. If anybody knows of construction equipment, they should let me know because his favorite vehicle is an excavator. I didn't even know what that was until Blippi. And if you know, you know. All right, guys. So yeah, just share your positives. Feel free to share those along too. If you have any, again, if you're struggling and you're having a rough time, it's always good to go on those positives and to like just remember that there are still good things and that even on the darkest day, there's still something there, right? Yeah, she says, wow, she's 3 and keeps me on my toes. Yeah, 3's no joke. I swear. It's what is it? It goes into terrible 2s into, I don't know what it is. It's my kid's like an angry koala is what I've been calling him lately. I literally just angry and clingy. It's insane. All right, everybody. So I would love, and I always like to tell you guys this, if you have questions, if you have stories, if you want to engage, if you want to share, please do so. Sometimes when we talk about some of these topics, I understand that it can be hard and it can be rough, and I understand, and it can be from a vulnerable place that we talk about things, especially when you're talking about things like stillbirth and miscarriage. And honestly, I didn't even know the difference when I had mine almost 9 years ago now. And it wasn't until actually Deb, I had seen posts and actually had her explain to me the difference between those two, which are between the differences of them. And I had no idea, you know, back then it was just, hey, I just lost a baby and that was it. And it was it was so much to go through. And so I just kind of want to talk a little bit about that process, a little bit about my story, and kind of prep for what she's going to be talking to us about next week. If you guys don't know, like I said, I have 5 beautiful living children, and I have one that I lost at almost 7 months. And that was August in 2010. And it was August 2010. So I didn't write, it was 11 years ago, not 9. And it's still hard every single day. every single day I think about that. There are times that I go to count heads and I feel like there's a head missing. And 11 years later, it's not as, like, the stinging isn't as bad and it's not as harsh, but it's still there. It's still like a dulling ache for something that feels like it's missing. And that's okay, right? It's totally okay that you have those feelings if you've been through any sort of a miscarriage, any some form of a stillbirth, and honestly, any sort of a loss or traumatic event at all. And I think that's really important to say. And I know I've talked about trauma on here before, and I've had people come on and talk about it, and I'd love to have more. So if that's something that you're passionate about, please connect to me, because I think that that is very important. And it is behind a lot of issues that mothers and just people in general face, that gives a lot of, additional problems from that. But when I first started my journey, it was kid number 3. I was I was super busy. I was working a ton, like a lot, a lot. I looked at my family through paperwork. I was constantly running. I was doing all sorts of things. I wasn't taking breaks. And I had noticed, well, I had 2 kids already. I noticed I was getting really tired all the time, like just exhausted. And anyone who's been through this or knows somebody who's been through pregnancy knows, like, you just lose all of your energy drains, like the first 2 trimester, and then like all of your brain juice drains like the 3rd trimester. So that must be when they really form their brain, because that's when we really get like the pregnancy brain. And I couldn't even tie my shoes with the last one. I swear to you, it was insane how, like, I just got pregnancy. Like, I got dumb. But beside that, so I started to get really, really tired, and I wasn't sure what was up. I went to my doctor and I was like, hey, I think I've got the flu. I think I might have to, like, be sick. I don't know what's going on. And she was like, okay, well, my policy, like, let's get you a pee in a cup and we'll just test it for everything. And she comes back and she says, you're pregnant. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I was really involved in my career. It really was the forefront of everything that I was doing. And it was very important to me. And I worked very, very hard. And it was usually for little pay and no gratification, which, I mean, it's just sometimes that's part of working in the chain, right? But I continued to work like I always did. And I continued to, work as hard, not rest, not eat. I wasn't taking my vitamins because I kept forgetting them. I was actually missing appointments because I thought, oh, this is number 3. It's just like the rest. I don't really need to worry about it. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly what to expect and what to do. And I had put off my appointments for about 2 months and not noticing anything different. I was still growing. Everything was going all right. And then I had my doctor calling me and she was just like, you really need to come in. You really need to get you get your stuff done. I think I had gestational diabetes tests. If you guys have had those, where you get that horrible orange drink, right? It's disgusting. But if you get that and then you have to drink that and it's super, super sweet and they make you wait and everything, I had to do all of those things. So I went in and I scheduled it in between work because I was like, man, I can't leave. I have to make lunch of it. So I begged so that I was like, hey, I really have to step away from our office because I have to close the office and I have to go and get an appointment. And I went in and right away, they do all the stuff. They check the heartbeat and everything, and they couldn't find anything. And they looked again and again, and they couldn't find anything. They said, that's okay. Sometimes when they're little or they're very deep, you don't hear anything right away. Why don't we send you over to the hospital? And it was the same hospital that I had all my other kids at. Really, it was the same. I have had all of my kids like at the same hospital, I think. And, same floor, same little rooms and everything. So I go in and I remember just being like super stressed because I had only asked for so much time off and for that little bit of time. And I was just so stressed. I'm like, they're going to be really mad that I'm not there. They're going to be really upset with me. They're going to be angry at me. Like, they really count on me. There's nobody there. Man, this needs to rush. And I wasn't thinking about anything but just getting back to work, doing the appointment. Like, the lady was silent, and that's okay. I didn't really notice because I was just like in my own head trying to get back to work. Well, then they had me go sit into waiting area. Again, it's the same waiting area I had always been to, the same waiting area where anybody who watched me had a baby or was waiting for me to pop one out had to wait while I was there. And I remember it was a lot, it was like 20, 30 minutes. And I had already been out for over an hour. And I was just so stressed, so upset. And this little girl walks up to me, this little nurse girl walks up to me and she says, "Hey, you have a phone call. You need to go into the room." And I said, "Okay, sounds good." She said, "Well, it's your doctor." I said, all right, all right. And I would like to preface, because I feel like there are some moms, and I am so sorry for you if you had to think about this, but before this had happened to me, I had never been concerned about my birth or my pregnancy or losing a child. I was just like oblivious to it. I had never known anybody that really it had happened to. I had heard of people, but I never really experienced that myself. And so it wasn't a worry for me. You know, I was worried about my toddler jumping off of a bed and getting a forever scar in her forehead thinking she was Astro Boy. But I never really thought that that could happen to me. And so I go into this room and I walk up and the lights are all off and the phone is just sitting on the counter, there. And I pick up the phone and I said, "Hey, what's up? I really got to get going." And she says, "Jesse, I don't know how to say this any other way, but there is no heartbeat." And I just didn't get it. I was like, "What? I don't understand." And she said, "Jesse, there is no heartbeat. You've lost the baby." And I was almost 7.5 months. And I just didn't understand. And here I am alone, no friends, no family. My husband wasn't there, no one in the room, not even a nurse to comfort me, on the phone with somebody that was like, ways away and nowhere near me. And I just said, "Okay, thank you." And she went on to explain that, they were going to see what they could do about getting me into surgery right away, but I was probably going to have to go through the weekend. It was a Thursday. I was probably going to have to go through the week and the weekend, as I was. And I just couldn't believe that. Like I was going to have to keep going and keep doing things with this child inside of me that was no longer there. And again, I couldn't process it. So I hung up the phone. I got in my car. I stopped at a liquor store. Okay. And I got home. I walked out of the car and I just stood in my driveway and my husband came out and I just poured into him and just bawled and cried and he had no idea. And I think that was probably the hardest moment of all of it, was having to tell him. And I remember the words I said, "I lost the baby. I did it. I lost the baby." And that weight and that shame that was there was just an incredible weight on me and my body. And then transferring that to my husband, it was so much that we literally couldn't bear it. We went to our knees and cried in our driveway. And I don't know how long it was, but I'll tell you, it was a long time. And then, slowly figuring out, what are we going to do? How are we going to be able to tell people? I had to call my work, and because they're like, "Where are you?" I'm getting back-to-back calls and texts. "Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?" And I had to tell them. And I got, "Well, when are you coming back then?" I said, "What?" I said, I think you misheard me. The baby just passed and I have to figure this out now. And I said, "Well, let me get back with you and I'll see what I can do." And then a little bit later, my doctor called me a few hours later. We were starting to tell family, and the doctor called and said, "Hey, I found somebody who can do it tomorrow. Can they do it tomorrow?" And I actually asked them if they could push it off to Saturday so that I could help my office figure out what to do. And she was like, "No, you really need to do this now." And I said, "Okay, well, I just took down a fifth of whiskey. so I don't think it's good for me to have surgery. She said, sober up and come in the morning. And I said, okay. And I just real talk, because I have not always been the person I am now. And sometimes that was my gateway. And that's why I tell people, like, there's no judge. I will not judge a mom if she tells me that she's had a moment like that, because you know what? I've been there. And until you have been there, you don't understand, especially if you were somebody who had a problem with that before. It's a comfort. And so I told her that. And, um, I told my work, hey, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get that surgery, I'm going to be done. And I just remember them being upset and me again feeling bad and feeling this shame, like I let so many people down and everything. And I went in, and it was an extremely gruesome process. It was so bad. If any of you know what Pitocin is, that's where they force you, or if you're not having contractions, they give you Pitocin and it helps you to have those. And they had to give me what would have been 3 times the lethal dose for the fetus, but because they weren't worried about that, they continued to go. And my body was literally not letting go of anything. I ended up having to give full birth and then having to go into surgery immediately after that because I couldn't pass the rest. And yeah, it was so traumatic. I remember just crying, and just not being able to handle everything. And I came to, and they gave me the opportunity to see him. And his name was Asher. And they gave us the opportunity to see him. And it was just not what we had imagined, not what we had hoped for and wished for the last 6.5 months. So it was even more devastating after that. And, I really, afterwards, I literally, so that was, was Friday morning. I tried to go back into my office on Monday morning, and I ended up twisting my uterus and having to go back home. And my doctor yelling at me saying, if you don't take FMLA, I'm going to come there and literally chain you to something because you need to stop. And it was a spiral. It was so traumatic. I remember I had to get muscle relaxers and like really high dose stuff because I was just having night terrors, waking up screaming, and I couldn't handle it. And I understand that that's kind of extreme for some people, or than some people's experiences. And I don't want to scare people that maybe are going through that, because I understand that I had a little bit of a unique case, but it woke me up to the fact that it was a place that many other women had been. And that just tore my heart apart. It really did. And I'm not the person I was now. So I didn't go to support groups. When I was offered help, I didn't. I didn't have anybody at the funeral. I didn't even cry or grieve at the funeral. It was just a completely numb experience for me. And for my husband as well. It was really hard for him. He had to just be told to stay strong and be strong for Jessie, and just show up for her. And he didn't get a proper opportunity to grieve or do anything either because he was just focused on me. And it took a really, really, really long time for me to talk about it. I pretty much, after I kept going a little bit longer, and then realized that I didn't have to take this anymore for my job, and it wasn't worth it. And I really had like a come to life moment, and it's like come to Jesus moment, but you come to life and you realize what life is about and that you're not doing it right and you need to start making some changes. And I've had that moment a couple times in my life, honestly, but that was definitely one of them. And I quit my job. I applied to a whole bunch of other jobs, and I'll tell you, within a week, I had 3 job offers. And I found a job that I loved and adored and stayed at for a very long time. And, that was what I was there up until I left last August to go start my own business. And it was amazing. Anytime I had a baby after that, it was not an issue. And I realized how you're supposed to treat a human being, whether they're working for you or not, or just as they are. And yeah, it was so much. And hello, Amber. She just came on. So I'm talking about my story, and I will link it in because I actually ended up writing a blog post about my experience. And I'll be honest, it was when I first, I was in this whole thing, a mom on a mission. I had started it last March, and I just felt like I was kind of fake coming from a place. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, you just want to help moms find balance or deal with work because it's your niche. You have 5 kids, it's easy." And I was kind of offended by that. I was like, "No, it's actually for a lot deeper reason." But because I had not really shared it with many people or not really talked about it, there were literally people that just didn't understand. I literally just cut off from the world and changed my whole life from that. So I didn't have to talk about it, which I'm sure isn't healthy either. And there were people that I saw years later, that had no idea what had happened. And so when I decided, I just had this moment, and it was, golly, I'd have to remember, but it was like in the fall last year. And I said, honey, I need to share my story. And it's not for publicity. It's not for things like that. It's because I need these moms to understand this is my mission. This is why. This is my why. And it's why I'm so passionate and so dedicated to this. Like, if you see me when I have a mom that is struggling with her career or struggling with it, and I'm not saying you need to go off and find your own business. I'm saying you can have a career and be perfectly healthy, or you could be a stay-at-home mom. Because I will be honest, I've been a stay-at-home mom before, and I had just as much stress sometimes, if not more, when I was a career mom, or as I have been as a career mom. I choose a career mom life because for me, it's what I prefer, because it's the life that I can handle. And I have kudos to any stay-at-home moms, because it is one hell of a job. And if you could imagine me doing that with 5 kids, it'd be a lot. I'd need help. Okay. But I just, I told him I really wanted to release the story. And I wrote it all up in like one night. The whole blog, I wrote it all up in one night. And I gave it to him, and I said, I want you to read this because it's your story too. It's not just mine to share. And, in private groups and things, that's one thing. But when I'm sharing it publicly on something like this, I want to get his input It was his trauma too. And I needed to make sure that he was okay with that. And I did. And he said to me, if this can help one single mom, then maybe it'll be helpful for us. Maybe it'll help heal us, and it'll, not be worth it, but it'll be one thing that we've done from this pain to help somebody else. And he said, put it on. And I remember I did it, and like, I released it to a little group that I was a part of, and said, hey, just so you guys know, I'm going to do a thing. And I posted it up on my website. It was actually my first, like, when you open my webpage, it was the first thing. It was like my landing page story for a little while, because it meant that much. But I did it at like midnight, thinking nobody would see it, nobody would know, and I'd have time to kind of like sit into it, right? No. Within an hour, and that's, like I said, it was about midnight. Within an hour, I had 6 moms that had reached out to me saying something like either they had been through that, something close to that, or like the struggle with the balance and everything. They realized that they were getting to that point, and that it just spoke to them, and saw me on. So I'm talking to people at like 1-2 o'clock in the morning, just sobbing, tears to myself, because I was like, oh my gosh, I finally did it. And I was so just overwhelmed about it. And I will say it was like, sorry, I was like, so many things opened up for that. Hello. Sorry. Hold on. But it was like so many things opened up, and so many things made a difference and happened. And it was just, no, not right now. Look at, say hi. But hi. So many things had changed. Yes. And so many things opened up, and weight was lifted off of my shoulders. But weight was lifted off of my shoulders, and really the more and more messages I got like that, it actually helped me to heal. I was able to then go to moms, and I was able to go into those groups and feel like I could offer support and help, because before I did tell people about it, I felt like a fraud. I really did. I felt like a fraud. I felt like a fake. I would hear people talk about it and I would just keep my mouth shut. And anybody who knows me knows that that is a feat. But I just didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to relive it, and I didn't want it to take space in my life because I felt like I couldn't handle it. And it took me 10 years to be able to do that. So, and I was able to push through, and I started this, and I did a lot of things different, and I'd like to think that it's helped a lot of people and inspired a lot of people. And that's what I do it for. That's why I do it, for you guys watching, for those who personal message me at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning because they're upset or they need support and they need empowerment. The women in my group that feel safe and they can talk about me or talk about what's going on in their life while they're getting business tips, and then just the people who come on every week and tell us our story, like Deb next week. She's going to be telling us her story and, her experience with having a stillborn birth. And I know she shared it publicly, and honestly, that is so brave as she was going through it. I mean, there's no way. She was such a strong woman, because there's no way that I could have done that. No way. And I know that because I didn't. And I hope that by people like her telling her story and me telling my story, that, not saying you need to go out and broadcast it to everybody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it will help you get through it by knowing that you're not alone. Because before that, I hadn't heard anybody talk about it, and I didn't know that it was a possibility, and I didn't know it was anything. And you bet your butt, every pregnancy after that, I was terrified. I was terrified, like just horrible anxiety, waiting for the next day, saying, I just want her to be out because she'll be safe. I just want her to be out because then she'll be safe and I can hold her and she'll be mine and she'll be breathing. And it was that every second of my next pregnancy. And if you're a mom that's experiencing that, I just want to say I understand totally and completely. And you are not alone with that. And there are people, there are groups, there are organizations, there are businesses like Deb's AstirFreya that we'll learn more about next week that can help you through that. And if you're, just take the help, take the hand, open up, because once you do, you'll really start to let it heal. And I am the master of bottling my emotions, which is funny because I'm sure you guys don't get that, because I've worked through a lot of it. But I used to never talk about my emotions. I would never cry for anyone, and to the point that it was unhealthy. And I've really grown a lot from them, and it has opened up so many avenues in my entire life that I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have reached out for help sooner. I wish I would have gotten support. And I thank every single one of you for giving me the space to do that, because I really did. I felt comfortable and I felt empowered and I felt supported. And that's what this is about. And that's why I try to create this environment for you guys. So I just thank you from the absolute bottom of my heart, because you changed, helped, and bettered my entire life. And yeah, so okay. Oh my, okay. Okay, see, I don't do this. Okay. But yeah, if you have a story or you have your story, please feel free to talk about it. Feel free to message me. Feel free to show up next week where we talk more about this with Deb. And it's going to be an amazing talk. She's just an amazing powerhouse of a woman if you haven't met her. And yeah, so I would really love to see you guys there. There is a event in the group. It's called I'm on a Mission, AstirFreya with Deb Kelspeak. And just go ahead and set reminders for that. Like and follow this, and make sure to turn on your notifications when I go live, because usually it is with an interview, unless it's like a contest or something, and those are fun too. But yeah, just make sure to follow along to get that information. I want to also say thank you to our partner and sponsor, Door of Hope in West Michigan. They help with GEDs, helping young mothers get their GEDs, and help with career readiness for mothers of any age that want to take the next step in their career but don't know how and need help with things like education, daycare, interview readiness, career readiness, job shadowing. They do so much. She is currently looking for volunteers in West Michigan. So if you are somebody that would, and man or woman, that has a heart to help young mothers find their GED or get further themselves into a new career, then please reach out to me or reach out to Door of Hope CDC, and I will make sure to tag her below as well. Okay, guys. That's all I've got, and hopefully it wasn't too much. It wasn't too heavy, and you guys were able to take something from it and learn a little bit about me a little bit deeper, because I know I've grazed over it quite a bit and I've made mention of it, but I haven't actually come on and given the full deep story. And I think that is a big piece of me and a big piece of my why and this whole thing we have going here. All right. Well, again, reminder for next week, put on the notifications. Remember that it's Thursday. It's a beautiful sunny day here. If you are above ground, if you are watching this, if you are able to watch this, you are in a privileged position. And even though it might not feel like it, it is. And I encourage you to take a moment to give thanks, and be happy and be grateful for where you are, which is here now above ground, right? All right. You guys have a beautiful Thursday night. I have a ton going on coming up. There's going to be a lot of changes, and I have an introduction to make for somebody to help on my team now, starting next week. So we'll do that. And you guys are just going to see a lot more coming from A Mom on a Mission and Wild Jessie Consulting. And I'm just really excited. All right, guys. Have a good day, and I will talk to you soon.